Let's talk about the Sonido Live 500 Mark II. Now, Sonido was kind enough to send this to me for review, but they haven't paid me, so let's get on with it and show you what this audio interface is all about. You won't be disappointed when it comes to the number of inputs on this device. It has a bunch. Let's take a look at them. Let's go to the back of the interface. So we've got your left and right external stereo output for connecting to a monitor. We've also got an instrument jack, 6.5mm, 48 volt phantom power, which is used for your condenser microphones, as I've been testing here with the Lewitt. You've also got a mic input, and this is a dual interface. You've got the 6.5mm jack plug there, and also the standard XLR input. You've got this live interface, which I believe you can plug in a phone or another sort of external sound source, which you can be used in your live streams for broadcasting. 3.5mm jack for a standard mic, so it could be a lapel microphone, something like that. You've also got line in, so this is for a phone. You do get cables as well to use with this device. So you can take an output from your mobile phone, plug it straight in as a line in source, on and off switch, USB-C connector to plug to your microphone, and then you've got a mobile USB-C connector as well, which means that you could actually plug in your phone. You can also use this to charge your phone. As I mentioned, this has a battery in it as well. So the PC or Mac can be used for charging the device as well as having it as the data cable for the sound output. And then obviously you can also plug in your mobile phone and charge it from that. On the front of this device, you've also got two headphone sockets. They're the same audio output, but you've got a 3.5mm and a 6.5mm, which is kind of nice that they give you both options depending whether you've got an adapter or not. So that's basically the main outputs for you. And it's right at the front as well. It's nice, the fact that it's at the front of the interface, so it's really easy to use in that configuration. Let's connect a microphone to this interface. I'm using the LCT240 Pro from Lewitt. It's a pretty decent microphone. It's a condenser mic. It's going into the main mic interface here. We've got the 48 volt phantom power supplying the mic. And I've got the gain control at center. And the audio is going straight into Ecamm Live. There's no EQ on here. There's no sort of processing or anything like that. So this is the raw audio coming out of the mic into the interface being recorded by Ecamm Live. Direct monitoring is pretty cool. So I've got my headphones plugged in here and I'm getting a pretty low latency signal coming straight into my headphones from the microphone, which is nice. So anything that I'm doing to the EQ or anything on the audio side, I'm going to hear with pretty much zero latency with this headphone set connected, which is pretty cool. I'm in bypass mode at the moment. We'll talk about that in a second and the reason why I've got that on there. We'll talk about these other controls in a second and how you can add more music to the mix. At the end of the day, it's an interface for musicians, live streamers and things like that. So it's a really cute little interface that you can start to sort of plug in other sounds and mixing and things like that. But let's talk about what's going on this side of the interface. The first control is pitch, and what that's going to do is affect the pitch of the voice, so like a little voice changer. Let me move it to the bottom.
And now you can hear that it's witness protection type.
Put it back to the center and you will feel a little notch, so you know it's sort of centered and none of the effects are being on. If I move it to the top,
It now makes me sound like this.
one thing that I've noticed that is annoying is if you heard when I was sliding this down, it's putting a little bit of a mute into the audio signal as I'm sliding this up and down.
So as I'm affecting things, you can hear that it's
Basically muting a little bit. I would have liked this not to do that. It would be nice if it didn't mute at all as I was moving the slider, because it is quite annoying. But I guess this is where the presets come in later. You can set the levels to whatever you want, save it as a preset, and then recall it later. So that's okay, I guess. You've also got treble and bass, so I can turn up the treble here. Let's turn that down, and then turn up the bass, and turn that down as well. So I just keep these at sort of 0, but if you do want to have a little more of a radio voice and turn up the bass, you can do. You can save these as well with the various presets. And then we've got the reverb control, and right now the reverb is having no effect because I'm in bypass mode. So to get out of bypass, you just basically select one of the memory buttons. Let's do number 1. These are all preset as well. Now you'll hear something straight away, that even though the reverb is at pretty much 0, there is reverb being applied to this audio signal. I did speak to Sonido about this, and they said that's working pretty much as how it's intended. I would have thought that if it's at 0, then no reverb is going to be in the audio signal, but that's not the case. So I can turn up the, the reverb here to an amazing amount. It sounds like I'm in a cathedral. And then you can sing. But I don't want that, obviously. So having reverb is great because obviously if you're a vocalist and you are singing to a backing track or something like that, doing a performance, then you've at least got some little reverb that you can tweak with that. It is a little bit annoying that you have to, pop it into bypass, and you'll notice when I hit the bypass button, again, there's a little bit of a mute there. So if I've got music playing on one of these channels and I'm just switching between them, then you are going to get an interruption in the audio chain. So just be mindful of that when you're switching. I would basically be quiet, switch, and then you can crack on with whatever you're actually singing and so on. So just keep that in mind, that you are going to get an interruption in the audio signal when you do switch between these different modes. So as I mentioned, you can actually save the preset. So let's quickly save a preset to number 2. Let's alter some of this here and then save it as a preset. So let's
do pitch, turn up the bass, and some echo. Press and hold. And once it starts flashing, you can see now that that is basically set.
If I go back to number 1, then it's going to recall that last setting. I go back to 4.
And it's going to recall the one I've just saved.
A handy way, I'm going to bypass for a second, a handy way of changing that. And I think it's good that you can save these presets, but a little bit annoying that there's a bit of an interruption as well. I've also noticed that if you do sort of change some of these settings and then go preset, sometimes when you go bypass, it doesn't sort of bypass everything. It might be a little quirk with the interface. Just be mindful of that. So just make sure that when you do save the presets how you want them in terms of the audio chain and the EQ that you've applied and the reverb, that it actually defaults back to what you expect it to default back to once you've pressed these buttons. So that's a quick demo of the quality of the audio interface coming straight out of this, or the quality of the audio coming straight out of the mic, should I say. So that's pretty good. I'm going to use a dynamic mic as well, just to show you the difference in the quality, but overall I think it's fine. What I have noticed is sometimes when you do adjust these, it doesn't always sort of default to 0 as well on the slider. There is sometimes a little bit of, I don't know, EQ left over even when I've just put it back to 0. I think it's fine. Just be mindful of that when you are changing the EQ. But overall, I think it's a very low noise interface, particularly with this condenser mic, and it's great. So let's go and take a look at some of the other functionality of this interface, and let's connect up a phone via Bluetooth, and let's play some music, and then I'll show you some of the other settings with regards to denoise, ducking, and other functions of this interface. This audio interface lets you connect multiple things to it. I'm going to show you now how to just set up and quickly play music via Bluetooth. It's really simple. Just press and hold this button here. It'll start flashing blue, and then you can pair it with your phone or your iPad or whatever you want. One thing to mention is don't get confused with this control here being the gain control for the Bluetooth. It's not a one-to-one relationship. This is actually the monitor volume or the monitor gain, and this is controlling what I'm hearing in my headphones. I can mute this so you can still hear everything, but I can't hear a thing now because I've just put on the mute for the monitor side. The actual control for the audio for anything that's coming into the device is this line in control here. Right now it's set to 0. I'm not playing any music. Let's press play on the phone. You can't hear anything yet, but now I'm going to gently turn up the control here, and you'll hear some stream beats music playing in the background. So you can hear that perfectly well. I can mute it by pressing this button, unmute, And then we can turn the volume up a little bit as well. So really straightforward. You also have a line in, and you have jack plugs that you can plug in a guitar or a piano and things like that. I'm not going to demonstrate that today, but you get the idea. It's the same process, but just a great way of getting sort of music into your mix, especially if you're doing sort of live streaming as well. Let's talk about this feature, which is ducking. Now, for those of you who don't know what ducking is, it's a control that basically, when you enable it, reduces the background music or any line-in music that you're playing when you start speaking. So the idea is, you've probably heard this on radio shows. You have big music playing like this, welcome to the show, and as soon as the DJ or whoever starts talking, the presenter, the music will duck down, will reduce in volume, so you can hear the presenter, and then when the presenter stops talking, the music will fade up again to the level that it was set at. I'll show you how this works on here, and I have some thoughts around how this could be improved. But let's turn the music up a bit. And then I'm going to enable ducking by pressing the ducking button. And when I start talking, the music just disappears. And I would like to have that music not disappear completely. Even if I turn the music up really loud, and when I start talking, it's just gone completely, pretty much. Let me just talk a bit more. Yeah, I mean, you can really not hear it when I start talking. I'd like to have this a little bit more configurable, where you can at least have some of the music bed playing in the background. At the moment, it's almost all or nothing. So when I'm speaking, you can't hear any music and I stop. And then I start speaking again and the music ducks down. I mean, it's doing its job, but it's doing its job too well, I think, because it's it's a little bit too aggressive. It would be nice if there was a bit more control on that ducking feature. I'll turn it off. And you'll notice when I turn it on as well, there is a little sort of, not a click, but an interruption in the music. So just keep in mind that if you are doing this stuff live, then be mindful that there is going to be maybe a little interruption into the audio chain. Not a huge big deal, but just remember about that. All right, so that is Bluetooth line-in, mixing, and ducking. Like other interfaces in the Sonido range, you do get some sound effects built in. They're not the best. Here's one of them. You can control the volume of these, by the way, as well. There doesn't seem to be any way to turn the volume down. You can also record your own. You just press and hold this button. You get a loud beep, and then you can record something like this.
Fabulous.
If you wanted to, with the effects on there as well. So
Fabulous.
It's up to you if you want to do that, but at least you get some effects that you can actually record yourself. There's no real way of loading them in via any software or anything, so if you do want to record external effects, you have to play them through your phone or your line-in or something like that. So I'm testing now with the Rode PodMic, as you can see here. One of the things I noticed straight away when I plugged this in and comparing it to the Lewitt is, because this is a passive mic and it's not using the 48 volt phantom power, the gain is a lot lower on this passive interface. So the audio chain is good quality, but I think the gain on this particular interface, especially for dynamic mics, which this one is a little bit too low. I'm having to boost the volume in post just in order to make it match what I had before, which I don't really want to have to do. It's a shame that this hasn't got as much gain as I'd hoped for a dynamic mic. If you're using condenser mics, which do require the power, you're fine. But I think a standard passive mic, you may struggle a bit. I mean, it's not like terribly low, but it's on full whack right now. If I put the denoise onto that different level, it might reduce the overall gain a bit more as well. But as I said, the denoise control is pretty good. But just switching it off for now, the gain's a bit low for me for dynamic mics. And forget about trying to put a Shure SM7B in here or something, because that's not going to fly. You will need a cloud lifter obviously with a SM7B, unless you're using a high-end sort of mic input like a Rode, for example, or like the Rodecaster or something like that, or a different audio interface. But for me, the audio gain on this particular dynamic mic input is a little bit too low. So that's a shame, but it's not unusable. You can still get away with it, but you're going to have to tweak that in post. Or if you're on a live stream, then you're going to have to sort of max out your sound levels on whatever software that you're using. Right now on Ecamm, my sound levels is at 100%. I'm at 100% gain on here. It's still quiet, and that's why I had to boost it in post for this particular video. So just to let you know, that's my thoughts on that, but using again, a relatively inexpensive dynamic mic, the audio is a little bit low for me on this side. So overall, a decent little interface, and let's not forget the price point and the fact that it has a battery, so it's pretty much portable. It lasts between 5 to 8 hours, I think, and depending on whether you've got phantom power connected with this interface, it might be a little bit less than that. There are a few quirks. We've seen that with some of the controls with bypass and pitch correction and so on, but let's think about the audio chain overall. It's a good quality interface, very low noise. The denoise function works really well. No AI artifacting. You've got built-in EQ, built-in reverb, built-in pitch control, presets that you can load in your sound effects as well, presets to save some of those sound parameters. And if you can just take a look at how it's going to be used in your environment, then some of the quirks that we've mentioned and workflow things that I've highlighted in this video could be pretty much removed depending on how you use it. It's got a ton of inputs, many outputs as well. You know, you've got low latency monitoring, you've got outputs as well to speakers. You can plug in your phone, your instruments, keyboards, microphones, both passive and active microphones that you can use with a 48-volt phantom power. And if you're looking for another interface that Sonido makes, I have done a video up here that you'll see, which is a smaller, more portable version. But overall, I like this interface. Tell me if you're going to be buying one yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.